we are going to begin our next speaker. Akin, CCDL4, is a senior oil and gas industry executive. He has been with the Toastmaster Club since 2016. He earned his CC credential in April of 2018. He is currently working on his dynamic leadership track in the Toastmaster Club Pathways program. When he is not working, he enjoys spending quality time with his family, photography, wellness, volunteering, and all things football, or better known in America as soccer. As part of his dynamic leadership level 5 track in his pathway journey, he will be speaking tonight on the lessons learned elective in the speech entitled Lessons Learned at a Project Lessons Learned session. Please give it up for Akin.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. Lessons learned. Many of us have heard it before. More so in a project management Toastmaster setting, there can be no shortage of topics like just such as this. What is lessons learned? Why conduct lessons learned? What are the benefits of conducting lessons learned? What does it do to you as a practitioner, to your organization, or to the people around you? Tonight, I will be sharing with you all the lessons that I learned while conducting a project lessons learned session recently here in Houston. I am not going to be able to share a lot of details about this project. Per Toastmaster, all I need to share is what I learned. What are some of the key considerations of lessons learned? For lessons learned to be successful, you need to consider what you do before, what you do during, and what you do after. Any opportunity where you have to speak about what went well, what did not go well, or what presented an opportunity for improvement, that is a lessons learned session. It doesn't have to be a workshop where you have 50 people or 100 people. It may be as little as 2 people and as large as you want it to be. Now, looking at the subject of lessons learned, and particularly on this project Foxtrot that I recently led, I found out that aside from considering what you do before, during, and after, there are 5 key elements that you must be careful of if you are going to be successful. Because this came to the fore in the course of conducting lessons learned recently, and they're related to the following 5. The first one is people. The second is the process that you're going to deploy. Next is tools. The 4th is deliverables. And the last but not the least, which most people ignore, is credibility of the organizers. Why is credibility important? I'm going to talk about it real quick. If you do conduct lessons learned sessions the way I do, you will definitely be promising your participant that by so date, I will issue the report of this workshop. If you are the type that just don't do that, people will either come to your workshop with no expectation or don't come at all. That is why credibility is very important. The others you might have heard before, but I've kind of zeroed in on that. For every lessons learned workshop, you talk about the planning, you talk about the identification, what you document, how you disseminate that, and then the follow-up. And in terms of timing, I actually did a research about 10, 15 years ago that it is only the lessons learned session conducted during the project, for the project, that is the most useful. That means if you wait till the end, people are already switched off. They're already looking for their next opportunity. they wouldn't even care because they don't really see themselves as having any stake in the success of that workshop. That is why I don't wait till the end of a project before I conduct my lessons learned session, something that I learned. Moving on, before the session, as I talked about earlier, understand what you will do. Send information to the participants. From a people standpoint, understand who the participants are, what they bring, why they should be participating, the benefits to them, the benefits of their participation to the organization. Very important. I sent out this template that you're seeing on my screen right now, and I asked them to pre-populate it before the workshop. I will tell you all, and I'm not making this up, this particular project, I got the highest number ever in my career of pre-populated lessons before the actual workshop. What I did with my Scribe was just to rearrange, sort the learnings so that it was very easy for me to present to the participants. I defined what my expectations are. They followed what I defined, and that really helped everybody to be able to have a meaningful session, because the value of a lessons learned workshop is when you bring people together, you can actually have a dialogue. During the session, I used the methodology that I've proven over the years called the SPACER methodology. I started with the safety moment, then the purpose of the meeting, the agenda, the code of conduct, everyone's expectations, and then the roles of the functionaries. Of course, the safety moment on this particular workshop was sanitizer storage safety, but I'm not going to go into all that details. In terms of the purpose, I had 2 slides. I explained to them that we're going to gather and generate learnings, we will organize the learnings, we will assign actions, and then we will share and use the findings. And we'll talk about what went well, what was lacking, and what did not go well, or what presented an opportunity for improvement. Very importantly, I let them know that wasn't going to be an opportunity for finger pointing. Everybody got that, and that worked out really well. And it's vitally important that you emphasize that if you're going to have a very successful workshop. Of course, I put together an agenda. This one is not visible on purpose. But I just wanted you to know that I walked them through the agenda for the day, and everybody was on the same page by the time we were starting the workshop. I walked them through the code of conduct during that workshop, particularly the need for one to respect other persons speaking by actively listening. The fact that mystery in my workshop is a choice. What that should mean to anyone is you can stand up, you can stretch, you can go to the bathroom. Don't wait for me to ask you to do that before you do it. And then, of course, the fact that there's absolutely no rank in the room. The last but not the least is for them to use the 80-20 rule, which means if we've discussed a learning and we've beaten it to death, please don't piñata it. That's what that 80-20 rule meant. Of course, having fun, very important. I asked them to let me know if they wanted to add anything else to it. In terms of expectations and role, I went over that and I defined the functionaries during that workshop. Of course, everyone is a participant. The scribe, his name was Beta, timekeeper and process checker was Charlie, facilitators was Delta, and parking lot keeper was Echo. And I asked them for any clarifications or questions. There and then, we went into the introductions of the people in the room so that everyone knew everyone. And we went through that. The last but not least, there was one thing that represented their virtual self. That means what people may not know by mere listening or just by mere looking at you. What will they not know? That's the virtual you. Then we go right into it with the support of my scribe. I gave them the overview, the background and the context, and then I described to them the current status of the project, because remember, that project wasn't done when I held this workshop. At the end of that, I put together the learnings that we've summarized, just the same template that I sent to them, but now pre-populated. You're not seeing the populated template right now, just for confidentiality reasons, but yes. So I brought this back, populated it, rearranged it, and then we talked about it. And it was very valuable because we had all this learning, and people had a few more to it, but it was a very useful use of their time. At the end of the workshop, I expatiated on the path forward. What am I going to do with what we've just done? The next steps. We will summarize the report. We will come back to them with any clarifications. We will issue the report to all of them, and we will make sure that the overall report goes into the organizational lessons learned database. At the end of that, I went around the room to ask them one key learning that they will use on their next project. And they found that to be actually very vital, because you don't know how long they will wait to get the report, but that was very helpful to me to know that people are actually walking away from that workshop with a key learning. And then I wrapped it up with this. I said, for everything that we discussed that day, people will be talking, okay, when am I going to apply it? It's not a question, I'm not sure, maybe someday or tomorrow or perhaps or not yet or another day, next week, never, whenever, later, one day in the future in time, but rather it is now. And that resonated with them, that hit them really hard. And I challenged them that I will be looking forward to them beginning to apply the key learnings. And that was the end of that workshop. In closing, I will say that conducting successful lessons learned workshop is not rocket science. You just need to plan very well, identify the key players, organize it in an environment where it is enabling for people to contribute without being threatened. And make sure you do what you promise them what you're going to do by providing them the report in good time. Mr. Toastmaster, back to you.
Thank you, Mr. Akin. Appreciate it very much.